Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the April, I almost said May, I don't know why I said May, April 22nd edition of CatSCAN News in 2026. Today is Earth Day, and I'm eager to stop yawning. I'm very eager to stop yawning and get right to the trivia so we can learn facts and then get on to news. Yeah, you can infer whatever you want. The fact that I separated news and facts, just do what you want with that. But let's get to it. Let's switch to this. Test the bonk. Yeah, and now get...
Order a footlong in the app, and Subway
Yeah,
Sub
shut
Club
up,
members get
stupid ads.
another for free.
Which destination is calling your name?
Princess is one
The
of
Great
the
Land,
cheapest cruise lines, just so
or the
you
pristine
know.
beach?
Hello, quizzers. Thanks for joining me for another round. In today's challenge, all the answers begin with the letter R. Now, go grab your thinking cap, keep track of your score, and let's get started. Which Brazilian city is famous for Christ the Redeemer?
Rio de Janeiro. Rio de Janeiro. I gotta pause it just a minute and turn my mic off. I gotta blow my nose. It just started bothering me.
Rio de Janeiro. What is fermented to make Japanese sake? Rice. What is the main unit of currency in India? Rupee. Which animal famous for having lucky feet is also featured in the Chinese zodiac? A rabbit. What is the last book of the Bible? Revelations. What disease, a softening of the bones, is caused by a deficiency of vitamin D? Rickets. What is the capital of Iceland? Reykjavik. According to legend, who was the founder and first king of the capital of Italy? Said to be raised by a she-wolf with his brother Romulus. What Islamic month begins with the sighting of the crescent moon and is marked by daily fasting? Ramadan. Which sea lies between Northeast Africa and the Arabian Peninsula? The Red Sea. Which fairy tale character could spin straw into gold and demanded a queen's firstborn child as payment? Rumpelstiltskin. Often called a diamond, what shape has 4 equal sides and 2 pairs of equal angles? A rhombus. Which language does English get the word mammoth from? The Russian language. What element, atomic number 88, was discovered by Marie and Pierre Curie in 1898? Radium. Which English monarch, whose name means powerful ruler, is known for his epithet the Lionheart? Richard the Lionheart. Which Russian mystic became influential at the court of Tsar Nicholas II? Rasputin. Which Nevadan city describes itself as the biggest little city in the world? The city of Reno. What fruit is the basis of a Melba sauce? Raspberry. What is the term for a Jewish spiritual leader or religious teacher? A rabbi. What oxide is formed by the reaction of iron and oxygen in the presence of moisture? Rust. Archie Andrews, Jughead Jones and Betty Cooper are residents of what fictional town? Riverdale. Which major mountain chain stretches from Canada to New Mexico? The Rocky Mountains. Which mammal is known for its black facial mask and ringed tail? A raccoon. Singer Bob Marley was associated with what genre of music? Reggae. Which snake is named for the warning sound made by its tail? A rattlesnake. In Greek mythology, what Titan was the mother of Zeus? Rhea. Which cell structure assembles proteins? Ribosome. Which part of the eye contains light-sensitive cells known as photoreceptors? That would be the retina.
With Keratin Color by Schwarzkopf, get rich, striking colors on all hair types. What story will you tell?
If you have tried multiple oral antidepressants and they
What older logarithmic scale was long used to report earthquake magnitude? Richter scale. What is the last name of the physicist who is known as the father of nuclear physics? Rutherford. What period of renewed art and learning followed the Middle Ages in Europe? Renaissance. What tangy reddish stalks are mixed with fruits in pies? Rhubarb. What is the Greek equivalent of the letter R? Row. What is the name of Dracula's insect-eating servant in Bram Stoker's novel? Renfield. Which country borders Ukraine, Hungary, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Moldova? Romania. What type of small, cool, dim star is the most common in the Milky Way? Red dwarf. In motion picture ratings, what does an R rating mean? It means restricted. Which ancient artifact helped scholars decode Egyptian hieroglyphs? Rosetta Stone. What language is one of Switzerland's 4 national languages, joining French, German, and Italian? Romansh. In which classic work of literature do the characters Mercutio, Benvolio, and Tybalt appear? Romeo and Juliet. Down to the last 10 now, which means it's time for today's bonus question. If you can get it, leave your answer below and be sure to hit like and subscribe. Which state flower of Indonesia, regarded as parasitic and not a true plant, is one of the largest flowers in the world? If you had fun with this quiz, you'll find a link to our Amazon quiz book below. It's packed with plenty more questions just like these. Which deep red gemstone is the birthstone for July? Ruby. Which Swiss watch brand has a crown logo? Rolex. Which French car manufacturer makes the Clio, Megane, and Twingo? Renault. What is the last name of the first US president to travel outside of the United States while in office? Roosevelt. What is the distance from the center of the circle to any point on its circumference called? Radius. Which French vegetable dish shares its name with a Pixar film? Ratatouille. In Spanish, what natural phenomenon is called arco iris? Rainbow. The honey badger is another name for which mammal? A ratel. Which Beatle was the drummer of the band? Ringo Starr. And finally, which legendary outlaw is linked with Sherwood Forest? Robin Hood. That's the end of today's challenge. Check your score on the screen, show it off in the comments, and I'll see you in the next quiz.
This self-proclaimed TikTok alpha male influencer just got a reality check from the judge because Wes Watson was already out on bond, but he was just arrested again on multiple felony charges tied to a domestic violence case. And after that, he ignored a direct warning from the court. And I guess a judge has now revoked his bond entirely, meaning he's not getting out anytime soon. The dude is locked up yet again.
A well-known fitness influencer was caught by cops.
He was arrested for allegedly beating up his girlfriend and was so vicious, say police, she had bruises all over her body.
I mean, his whole brand is essentially being the guy who used to be locked up, but he got his life together with pure discipline. But now, I don't know, I guess that discipline's just missing because now he's locked up again. So here we are talking about Wes Watson yet again. So where are things standing right now? Well, Wes Watson is not getting out. And after his latest arrest in Broward County, he went into court thinking that he would be able to post bond and walk free like before. But there was just one massive problem for him. The judge had already warned him. If you get arrested again while you're out on bond, that bond is gone. And of course, that's exactly what happened because a Miami-Dade County judge officially revoked his bond after the new arrest, which means he's now sitting in jail awaiting trial with no release date in sight, and his attorney can now file motions, and I guess they can try to fight it, but as of right now, he's staying locked up. So obviously, you have that whole other incident with the $115,000 bond from the case that we've also covered here on this channel, revolving the whole alleged gym assault incident. You see, that alleged incident is still active, and I guess when this new situation happened, it wasn't just another arrest, it was a violation of the conditions that he was already under. So that's the kind of thing that judges don't play around with. So there's now newly released footage of police showing up and taking him right into custody and serving him with a domestic violence restraining order right there on the spot.
Two things. One is we need to serve a restraining order on you.
What's restraining order?
Domestic violence restraining order.
He's trying to get money from me, guys.
Okay.
I have the screenshots. I have screenshots. I have screenshots. Hey, call my lord.
Where did you reach?
So now you have two active cases, multiple felony charges, and a judge who's already made it very clear that he's just done giving chances. And as a reminder of what his latest arrest is about, his victim had gone to the Miami Heat game with a friend, and at some point a video or photo from the game made its way back to Wes. So police say that he got angry over what she was wearing and accused her of being disrespectful and I guess cheating on him. And this is where things escalate dramatically. So When she returned to his residence, he confronted her and it turned very violent. Police say that he physically restrained her, shook her, and then applied pressure to her neck. And they also allege that he threw her to the ground, dragged her by her hair, and struck her multiple times. We've known for a while this guy's been a scumbag, but if any of this is true, he's a monster. Because at one point, investigators say that he forcibly slammed her head into a table. And of course, it doesn't even stop there. So what did he do next? Well, he apparently did not allow her to leave the residence. So her movement was then restricted, and she was being threatened throughout the entire experience. And that's where the false imprisonment charge comes into play, because this wasn't described as a quick argument that got out of hand. It left her with visible injuries, including bruising and cuts. And this all happened while he was already out on bond for another violent case. So from a legal standpoint, this isn't just about like what happened inside that house. Apparently it's a pattern. Obviously, this is if all this is true, but that's most likely how all of this is going to be framed moving forward, because both of these cases involve violence. Both are still active and now completely stacked on top of each other. So the first case I'm talking about is the arrest over the fight that happened in the Miami gym, Elevation Fitness. In this situation, Wes is claiming self-defense for the whole fight, which you know is insane considering, you know, him and his friends are on video kicking the guy and using gym equipment on him while he was already on the ground. So I don't know what all that is about, but I digress. I'm just saying this looks awful for him. Them claiming self-defense, trying to show that he's not controlled by his anger, and then he gets arrested for a horrific case of domestic violence. This is just the pinnacle of stupidity. But remember, why did Wes think this guy came to the gym to fight him?
I'm famous. I get 90 million messages a day.
Okay.
Hey, someone's looking confident.
Ow, ow. New.
Okay, I mean, this guy is just so unbelievably obnoxious. Granted, though, it's not like he was doing well at convincing the court that he didn't have any anger problems even before he was arrested yet again. Because right before he held his girlfriend captive and hurt her, his disposition involved him making fun of the lawyer and just throwing an absolute toddler fit. I am not exaggerating. He said things to the lawyer like, your shit's busted. Like, you're talking about stupid shit. Why does he get to cut me off? Your questions are like belonging in a circus. You're like an old dude from Florida or something. Like, dude, why are you saying all this in court? Shut up. Let your lawyer do the talking unless you are specifically asked a question to answer. Honestly, he is pretty much at the top of crash outs. So when Wes got arrested again in Broward County, it wasn't just like some new charges. It was a violation tied directly to that original case. And that's why the judge didn't hesitate at all when it came to revoking his bond, because from the court's perspective, this is clearly a pattern. So you've got one alleged violent incident still unresolved, then another one happens just while you're out on bond for the first one. And that's exactly the kind of situation where judges stop giving the benefit of the doubt. Apparently, there were also others in the house while all this was happening, and they didn't step in. In fact, investigators say that one of them was actively told to make sure the victim didn't leave. And at one point, he was allegedly positioned by the door while everything was going on, basically acting like a barrier.
He had his own personal employees threaten her. He had his own personal employees oversee her to see what she was doing on the phone, Your Honor. I think there's even made reference to the victim that she effectively felt that she was being held hostage.
So naturally, the next big question is, why are these people not being charged? Well, now we have an answer. So one of them, Jose, has now been arrested, and the charges against him are serious because he's facing felony false imprisonment just like Wes, along with witness tampering, which, you know, in simple terms means authorities believe there was some kind of attempt of influence or to interfere with the victim, whether that's pressure, threats, or trying to control what's being said. But what makes this even more interesting is not everyone present has been charged. So at least one other person who was there hasn't been arrested. And I guess when you see that, when one person gets hit with multiple felonies and another person walks free, it raises some pretty obvious questions. Did someone talk? Because in situations like this, wouldn't that be how it goes? I don't know. I'm just a villager idiot. We're just covering the situation with the available information to us right now. Now, I mean, nothing's been officially confirmed on that front, but by the way this is playing out, it definitely feels like something else is going on behind the scenes. And I mean, if that's true, this could become a huge factor in what happens next in court. So since he's been taken into custody, Wes hasn't exactly been walking around like, you know, the guy that you see online anymore. So according to John Bravo, who talked to Wes's old employees and people who've been inside the jail, the moment he came in, most of the inmates already knew who he was, and they weren't buying the whole alpha persona.
Because I ended up talking to 2 employees, former employees who worked for Wes, right? And they stayed in the house with him. He said, one day, John, he goes, I woke up and I saw Peggy sitting on the kitchen table with a mountain of that creatine and his face stuck in it like Al Pacino from Scarface. I've never seen a white man do that and not drop dead. So this was taking a lot. I wanted to find out how this was doing with all that withdrawals in the jail, right? I ended up speaking to 2 people who are in the jail who could tell me the story of what's going on with him. And they told me, they go, John, listen, when he got here, all those inmates, most of them knew who he was and they weren't having any of his.
So instead of being loud and in control like he is on camera, he's reportedly been keeping to himself. And a big reason for that might be what he's dealing with physically right now, because based on reports from people familiar with his lifestyle, he was using a mixture of substances. Everything from, I don't know how much I can even say on this channel. A whole bunch of gym bro stuff. And when you suddenly get locked up, that stops immediately. And that's where things get rough. So there are claims that his withdrawals are really bad, and he's actually had to be moved to a separate unit in the jail, specifically for inmates going through detox. So now, instead of the guy online preaching discipline, control, and mental toughness, you have someone sitting in a jail unit dealing with the reality of coming off everything at once, and I guess the reality of his own actions. And the reason this is being mentioned and why it's so ironic is because if you go back and listen to his content, he talks consistently about having control of your impulses, mastering your habits, being unshakable no matter what. But now all of that is being tested in the one place where I guess you can't fake it. So he's now facing multiple felony charges across 2 separate cases, and there are going to be hearings, motions, and eventually a trial, unless something gets resolved before that. But honestly, with everything stacked on top of each other like this, it's going to be serious. And we're talking about charges that can carry real prison time if he's convicted. And on top of that, you've got this added layer of violating bond conditions, which judges tend to take very seriously when it comes to sentencing and decisions moving forward. So now, instead of being online telling people how to live their lives, he's sitting in a cell waiting to find out what happens to his own. And I guess at this point, the only thing left to see is how all this plays out in court. And I'll keep you guys updated. So hey, if you're new here, my name is Arling, or A to Z, or a Tozy on the internet. And we talk about the laughably stupid stuff that unfolds on the internet and or shocking stuff. So feel free to subscribe, drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace.
Why pay more for fewer days of fragrance?